Welcome to English with Zenko Master. Get ready to learn something new today.
The baby bottle slipped from my hand and rolled under the table. I didn't pick it up right away. My baby was crying, and I hadn't slept in 2 nights. I held her close, walking back and forth in the small kitchen. My body felt heavy. Everything was too quiet, too hard. I was only 22 when I became a mother. My boyfriend had promised he would stay, but he left before our daughter's first birthday. I didn't ask him why. I already knew. He was not ready to be a father, and I was not ready to be alone. But life doesn't wait for you to be ready. After he left, I moved into a cheaper apartment. It had only 1 room, but it was clean and safe. I worked in a small bakery during the day and cleaned offices at night. I carried my daughter everywhere, to work, to the store, to the clinic. She became part of my every step. There was no one else. My parents lived far away and didn't support my choices. My friends were busy building their own lives. I stopped going out, stopped answering calls. I lived inside a small world, me and my daughter, trying to survive day by day. Money was always tight. I learned to make every coin last. I cooked simple meals, bought used clothes, and walked instead of taking the bus. When she got sick, I missed work to stay home and care for her. I lost jobs more than once, but I never let her see my fear. She was the reason I kept going. Her smile in the morning gave me strength. Her small hand in mine reminded me I was not truly alone. I was her mother, and nothing in the world mattered more than that. On her 3rd birthday, I gave her a second-hand teddy bear. I cleaned it, brushed its fur, and tied a red ribbon around its neck. She loved it. She hugged it all night. That moment made all the struggle feel worth it. As she grew older, I tried to give her more. I took extra shifts, sometimes working until midnight. My body was tired, but my heart stayed full. Every lunchbox I packed, every story I read before bed, it was all part of my promise to never let her down. She started school when she was 5. I still remember her first day. She wore a little blue dress and looked so proud. I watched from the gate as she walked in. I smiled and waved. Then I cried all the way home. My little girl was growing up. Every evening we sat together at our small table. She told me about her day. I listened carefully, even when my eyes were closing. She made drawings of our home and called me her best friend. Those were beautiful years. I didn't have much, but I had her love. She asked about her father once when she was 7. I told her he had gone to live in another city. I didn't say more. I didn't want her to feel rejected. I wanted her to feel safe and loved, no matter what. Time moved quickly. She grew taller, smarter, more independent. She began to read on her own, help me with chores, and ask difficult questions. I answered the best I could. I told her to always believe in herself, to be kind, and to work hard. When she turned 10, I surprised her with a new school bag. It had bright colors and her name written on the front. She hugged me tightly and said I was the best mom in the world. That night, I cried into my pillow, not from sadness, but from the weight of love. In middle school, things began to change. She made new friends, started wanting different clothes, and asked for a phone. I couldn't afford it at the time. She didn't argue, but I saw disappointment in her eyes. It broke my heart. I started cleaning houses on weekends to save extra money. I skipped breakfast so she could have lunch at school. I didn't tell her that. I didn't want her to feel guilty. I wanted her to feel free. When she was 13, she became quieter at home. She stayed in her room more. She answered my questions with short words. I told myself it was normal. Teenagers change, but I still miss the little girl who once ran into my arms every day. Then, one evening, she told me something that shook my world. She had found her father on social media. He had messaged her. He wanted to meet. My heart dropped. I smiled and said she could decide. Inside, I felt something I couldn't explain. She met him the next week. He took her to a restaurant, bought her gifts, and told her stories. She came home excited. She said he was kind, that he understood her. I nodded and said nothing, but I couldn't sleep that night. She started seeing him more often. He gave her things I couldn't. New shoes, new books, even a tablet. I tried not to compare, but it hurt. He had missed the hard years, the sick nights, the empty fridge, and now he was suddenly her hero. One day, she came home and said she wanted to spend a few weeks with him. Just to try it, she said. He has a bigger house and more time. I smiled and agreed. What else could I do? The day she left, I helped her pack. I folded her clothes just like I always had. I added a note in her bag telling her I loved her. She didn't notice. She was busy texting. The house felt empty that night. I walked into her room and sat on her bed. The pillow still smelled like her shampoo. Her drawings were gone. Her books, her photos, everything she loved, all packed. I stayed in that room for hours. I remembered every small moment, her first steps, her first day at school, the time she made me a birthday card from old paper. I held those memories like fragile glass. Days passed, then weeks. She visited now and then, but she talked about her father more. She said his house was nicer, his food was better, his rules were easier. I listened and smiled, but something inside me was breaking. One afternoon, she called and said she wanted to live with him full time. It's just easier, she said, and he understands me better. I said I understood. I wished her well. Then I hung up the phone and cried for hours. I had raised her alone. I had given everything I had. I missed birthdays, skipped meals, worked in pain, all for her. And now she was walking away. Not with anger, not with blame, but with a soft goodbye that felt like a knife. That night, I made tea and sat at the window. I looked out at the empty street and asked myself a question I never thought I would ask. Was it worth it? And deep inside, through all the pain, my heart whispered yes. Before I share the rest of my story, could you please tell me where you're from? It gives me strength to know there's someone out there who listens to me, who understands me. It means a lot to me. Weeks passed, then months. She didn't call as often. At first, I told myself she was busy. School, new routines, new people. But as the silence grew longer, I stopped making excuses. She had started a new life, and I was not part of it. I saw photos online. Her smiling with her father, standing in front of a new house. Birthday cakes, school events, trips I never knew about. She didn't tag me. She didn't message me. She had erased the years I gave her, the hard years that built her. I kept working. Life didn't stop just because my heart was broken. Rent still came, groceries still needed buying. I filled my evenings with small tasks, cleaned the same rooms over and over, anything to keep my mind from going where it wanted to go. Her room stayed the same. I couldn't pack it away. Her bed was still made. Her books were still there, untouched. Every time I passed her door, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Not anger, not even sadness, just something deeper, like a piece of me had been removed. She didn't come home for the holidays, not even for a day. Her father took her on vacation. She sent me one message. Happy New Year. I replied, I love you. She didn't respond. I didn't blame her. Not fully. I blamed the way life had pulled us apart. I blamed the years of struggle that made me tired, made me strict, made me poor. I blamed the world for showing her something easier, something prettier. But some days, I also blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't soft enough. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I didn't laugh enough when she was young. I had spent so many years trying to protect her, I forgot to enjoy her. That thought hurt more than anything. My health began to change. Nothing big at first, just tiredness that wouldn't go away. Then headaches, then stomach pain. I didn't see a doctor right away. I was too busy trying to stay strong. But my body was asking for rest, and I didn't listen. One morning, I fainted at work. I woke up in a hospital bed. They said I had stress-related problems. I needed more sleep, better food, and less work. I smiled and nodded. But how could I rest when I was alone? I stayed in the hospital for 3 nights. No visitors. I looked at my phone more times than I can count. No messages. No missed calls. I wondered if she even knew. When I came home, everything felt heavier. I couldn't lift boxes. I couldn't walk long distances. I had to stop working one job. That meant less money. I cut back on food and electricity. Winter was coming, and the house felt colder than ever. One day, while sorting old papers, I found a small notebook. It was hers. She had written in it when she was about 9. Inside were simple notes. My mom makes the best soup. She works so hard. I love her more than the stars. I closed the notebook and held it to my chest. I cried for the first time in weeks. Not because I was sad, because I remembered she once saw me, really saw me. I wrote her a letter. Not long, just a few lines. I didn't talk about the past. I didn't beg. I only said I hoped she was happy and that I missed her voice. I mailed it, not expecting an answer. 2 weeks passed. Nothing came. Then one day, while I was resting in bed, the doorbell rang. I walked slowly to the door, holding the wall for support. When I opened it, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was her. She looked older, taller, more confident. She carried a small bag and held her phone in one hand. She didn't speak right away. Neither did I. We just looked at each other. After a few seconds, she stepped inside. She stayed for an hour, maybe less. She asked about my health. I told her the truth. Some parts, not all. She looked around the house. I could see her remembering things. Her fingers touched the edges of the table like she was trying to feel time. Before she left, she said she would come back soon. I smiled and said that would be nice. But I didn't believe her. Still, a part of me hoped. A few weeks later, she came again, this time with a bag of groceries. She made tea. We talked about simple things, weather, work, school. No mention of her father. No questions about the past. These visits became more regular, always short, always polite. I wanted to ask her so many things, but I didn't. I was afraid of pushing her away. I was afraid of hearing that she no longer loved me. One evening, she stayed longer than usual. We were looking at an old photo album. She pointed at a picture of herself in a school play. "You made that costume," she said. Her voice was quiet. I still remember how proud I felt. I nodded. My throat was tight. I didn't speak. She turned the page and saw another photo. Her 8th birthday. "You baked that cake," she said. "It looked terrible but tasted amazing." We laughed a little. Then she looked at me. "I forgot a lot of things, didn't I?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her next visit was different. She brought soup, the same kind I used to make. She placed it on the table and said, "You need to rest now. Let me do something for you this time." That night, after she left, I sat in the quiet and smiled. It wasn't the same as before. It never would be. But it was something. It was a beginning. I still live in the same house. I still walk past her room. The difference is, sometimes now, the light is on and I hear her humming. Some changes happen slowly. Others arrive without warning. For me, it was both. My health didn't suddenly return, but I found new strength each time my daughter walked through the door. Her visits brought something warm back into the house, something I had missed for years. She started staying longer. One Saturday, she helped clean the kitchen. She wiped the windows, threw out old food, and opened all the curtains. The sunlight made everything look softer. That afternoon, she cooked rice and vegetables and placed the plate in front of me like I used to do for her. We didn't speak about the years we lost. We talked about small things, her new job, her hobbies, a book she had read. I didn't ask too many questions. I didn't want her to feel watched. I let her lead the way, and slowly she did. She came over with photos once. Pictures from a trip she had taken with her father. Beaches, sunsets, shopping malls. She smiled as she talked, and I listened. It was hard, but I nodded and smiled. I didn't want to pull her backward. I only wanted her to know I was still here. Time passed, and something began to shift. She cleaned her old room. She brought a new blanket and a plant for the window. One morning, I woke up and found her eating toast in the kitchen. She looked tired. "I didn't want to go home last night," she said. That was all. After that, she stayed more often. Not full-time, not officially, but often enough that I kept tea and snacks ready. I didn't ask if she fought with her father. I didn't want to know the details. I only wanted her to feel safe here. No pressure, no rules, just rest. One evening, I was folding clothes when she walked into the room with an envelope. She handed it to me and looked away. Inside was some money. Not a lot, but enough to cover groceries and medicine for a few weeks. "I got a bonus," she said. I didn't ask anything more. I used to think that motherhood meant giving without end. I still believe that. But now I know something else too. Sometimes, if you wait long enough, what you gave returns in a different form. Not as a reward, but as a quiet reminder that love never really disappears. That summer, we started walking together in the evenings. Nothing far, just down the street and back. She told me about her favorite music and asked what I used to listen to. I smiled and told her I never had time for music. She promised to make me a playlist. She brought her laptop over one day and played soft songs while I cooked. I didn't recognize any of them, but the rhythm filled the room. For the first time in years, I felt like I was learning something new. And it came from her. That felt beautiful. She taught me how to use online banking. I had kept cash in a box for most of my life. Now I had a card and a password. She said it made life easier. I believed her. She set up a calendar on my phone for doctor visits and medicine reminders. We became something new. Not just mother and daughter, but two women learning to be close again. We had missed years of each other's lives, but we didn't try to fill every gap. We focused on the present, on the days we still had. One morning, I woke up and heard the sound of her humming in the kitchen. She was making breakfast. Eggs, toast, and tea. It reminded me of when she was small, pretending to cook with plastic spoons and cups. Now she was here, grown and careful, moving like she belonged. We didn't live together again, not fully. She still kept a room at her father's house, but she visited often. She brought her laundry sometimes. She asked me how I was feeling. She even reminded me to rest. Every visit was like a small note that said, "I remember." I didn't ask her why she had come back. I didn't want to ruin what we had rebuilt. But I knew. I could feel it in the way she touched the old things in the house, the way she smiled when we sat together in silence. Some part of her still belonged here. She found an old photo of us at the park. I was younger, holding her hand as she pointed to ducks in a pond. She looked at it for a long time. Then she placed it on the fridge next to a new note. Mom's medicine. 10A. That note stayed up for weeks. It made me smile every time I walked past it. Not because of the reminder, but because of the care behind it. She was paying attention again. She saw me. She once asked if I regretted everything, having her young, being alone, the years I spent struggling. I said no. I told her that every meal I cooked, every tear I wiped, every long night, they were all part of love. I didn't expect anything back, but having her now felt like enough. We still had quiet days. We still had space between us, but the silence no longer hurt. It felt like comfort, like understanding. We could sit without speaking and still feel close. That, to me, was the best part of healing. She helped me with government forms, something I had always feared. She read each line carefully and filled in the answers. "You did everything alone for years," she said once. "Now let me help." I nodded. I didn't cry, but I felt a warm ache in my chest. Sometimes she brought flowers. Not on holidays, just on random days. Small ones from a local shop. She placed them in a glass jar on the table. "For color," she said, and the house did feel brighter with them there. One weekend, we cooked together. She followed my old recipes, asking questions and writing down notes. I watched her, remembering the first time I taught her how to break an egg. She had laughed so much that day. Now she moved with confidence, like someone who had come full circle. She started sharing more about her life, her job, her friends, her worries. I listened without advice, without judgment. Just listened. She said that made her feel calm. I was glad. For years, I had only been the voice telling her what to do. Now, I could be something softer. When her birthday came, I gave her a small box with old letters she had written as a child. Inside were drawings, tiny poems, and notes filled with love. She read each one slowly. Then she looked at me and whispered, "Thank you." I didn't need more than that. Later that night, I stood at the window and watched her car drive away. I wasn't sad. I wasn't afraid. I knew she would be back. I knew I was no longer forgotten. Years ago, I feared she would leave and never look back. I feared I would be a name she only said when telling stories about her childhood. But now I know. I was more than that. I was her first home, her first teacher, her first love. I still live quietly. My days are simple, but they are not empty. My daughter and I are not the same as we once were. We are something new, something stronger, something real. And I have learned something I wish I had known long ago, that even if your love is not seen at first, it leaves a mark that can grow, return, and gently remind the world that you were there, that you mattered. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.